Kathy Hilton is no stranger to the stress of sitting on the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills couch, and in a recent interview, the businesswoman admitted that reunion days can be overwhelming, even when she's not at the center of the drama. Hilton joined RHOBH in season 11, 2021, as a friend of the Housewives, only to return in the same capacity a year later. Though she confirmed her departure in June 2023, Hilton made a surprise appearance during the season 13 reunion in 2024 and officially resumed her friend role for the current season 14. In a recent interview with Briefing on Bravo, Hilton went on to describe the atmosphere of a reunion episode shoot day as pretty intense once tensions among the cast begin to simmer. Here's what she exactly had to say. "It is a very, very big day, and it's very, very stressful. Even if you are not part of the drama, just what's going on, it's pretty intense." Despite not always being directly entangled in on-camera conflicts, Hilton has repeatedly underscored the emotional toll reunions can take and has revealed that simply witnessing the unfolding tensions is enough to cause anxiety. This especially makes sense as her family has played a major role in RHOB's arc overall. Her sisters, Kyle Richards and Kim Richards, were original cast members, with Kyle remaining a principal star since the show's 2010 debut, and all that has been lately going on for her after her split from estranged husband Mauricio Umansky. Latest intel about Kyle Richards and Mauricio Umansky's estranged relationship. Dorit Kemsley recently weighed in on Richards and Umansky's estranged relationship in a way that may surprise most fans. During the March 11, 2025, episode of Watch What Happens Live with Andy Cohen, Kemsley revealed that she hasn't ruled out a potential reconciliation for the longtime couple. "I think there are crazier things that have happened," Kemsley said. "I don't think it's a hard no." This comes after fans saw Richards' reaction and intention to begin moving on after seeing a picture of her estranged husband kissing another woman. Richards, on the other hand, has made it clear that she and Umansky are more focused on determining the next steps in their split rather than planning a reunion. After the pair announced their separation in the summer of 2023, Richards admitted they avoided some difficult talks, including the possibility of divorce. "Neither one of us wanted to be the one to say, 'Oak, we're not going to be together, and let's start figuring everything out,'" she explained on the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills after show. "We've made it easy for each other to not have to do that by just avoiding everything." So as the mom of three continues to navigate her new normal, it's clear that she's trying to embrace clarity over fear. "I need time to figure out where I'm at. I'm happy that I'm in a place where I can at least say, 'Oak, we should have these conversations.' They're not easy to have, but decisions need to be made," she acknowledged. So while Kemsley sees a potential for Richards and Umansky to find their way back together, Richards' words aren't really suggest the same. For now, she's prioritizing honest dialogue and taking their relationship shift day by day. The reunion, Kathy Hilton had never been a stranger to high-profile moments. A businesswoman, socialite, and philanthropist, she'd navigated the glamorous world of Beverly Hills for decades, quietly observing as her family, her sisters, Kyle and Kim Richards, took center stage in the high-drama world of the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. But despite her ability to glide effortlessly through the glittering parties and celebrity-filled events, the reunion days on the show brought a different kind of anxiety. This particular day felt heavier than most. As Kathy prepared for another reunion shoot for the season, she couldn't shake the feeling of tension hanging in the air. It wasn't just the usual stress of being in front of cameras or the expected confrontation of personalities. This was a day filled with emotional gravity. As a friend of the Housewives, Kathy had long learned to stay out of the line of fire. But even on days like this, her proximity to the drama was inescapable. Kathy had first joined the cast in season 11, a guest role that had gradually evolved into something deeper in the following seasons. Her return in season 14 had surprised fans and castmates alike. It wasn't that she lacked the star power or relevance. It was simply that Kathy had a natural ability to observe without becoming entangled. Yet the dynamics within her family always seemed to be the heart of RHOBH's drama. Her younger sister Kyle had been a central figure on the show since its debut, and Kim had her own complex journey that intertwined with the series from day one. The relationships, the alliances, and the feuds had been difficult to ignore, no matter how much Kathy tried to distance herself from them. In the 2024 reunion, Kathy had watched as her family members dealt with some of the toughest challenges they'd ever faced. Her sister Kyle was in the midst of a public split from her husband, Mauricio. The news had sent shockwaves through the cast and their inner circles, and it seemed as if the cracks in Kyle's marriage were the unspoken elephant in the room. Kathy, however, had always been more of a listener than a talker. She knew that sometimes saying nothing was the most powerful thing you could do. But when her family was involved, staying silent wasn't always an option. As the cameras rolled and the lights buzzed overhead, Kathy adjusted the microphone that was clipped to her blouse and took a deep breath, steeling herself for what was to come. On set, the usual cacophony of production chaos filled the air. Cast members flitted in and out of their dressing rooms, last-minute hair adjustments were being made, and the crew moved with purpose to get everything in place. Kathy sat quietly in her chair, observing the activity around her. There was a palpable sense of unease among the housewives today, a feeling that went beyond the normal drama. She couldn't help but overhear bits of conversations, the gossip and speculation swirling as the women filed in. But no one spoke of the most pressing issue, Kyle's separation from Mauricio. Dorrit Kemsley, one of Kathy's longtime friends on the show, was one of the first to arrive. She greeted Kathy with a warm hug, a welcome distraction from the growing tension. "Are you ready for this, Kathy?" Dorrit asked, her voice carrying a hint of nervous energy. Kathy gave a small laugh, shrugging her shoulders. "I don't think anyone is ever truly ready for these days. It's a lot, even when you're not directly involved in the drama." Dorrit nodded, her eyes flicking over to Kyle, who had just entered the room. Kyle, usually composed, looked more fragile today. The weight of the public scrutiny was clear in her eyes, and Kathy could see that the reunion was going to be difficult for her. Kathy's heart went out to her sister, knowing full well the strain of dealing with such an intensely public separation. Kyle had always been strong, but Kathy could see how the cracks were showing beneath the surface. The split with Mauricio, the inevitable divorce talks. These were things Kathy didn't want to acknowledge, but they were inescapable now. The reunion began in earnest, the producers gathering the women on the iconic couch. Kathy could feel the collective energy shift as each woman took her seat. There was an unspoken understanding that today was not just another reunion, it was a crossroads. A moment in time where some relationships might find resolution, while others would splinter even further. The conversation started light, with the usual back and forth about the season's highlights, but Kathy could tell that everyone was biding their time. No one was willing to dive into the heavy stuff yet. Then, just as expected, Andy Cohen, the ever-sharp host, turned the conversation to the topic that loomed over the entire room, Kyle and Mauricio's relationship. "Let's talk about what's been on everyone's minds all season," Andy said, his voice cutting through the air. "Kyle, I know you've been through a lot recently. Can you share where you and Mauricio stand right now?" The room grew silent. Kathy could feel Kyle stiffen beside her, her body language tense as if preparing for a blow. Kyle swallowed hard before answering, her voice barely above a whisper. "We're in a weird place right now. It's hard, you know. It's not like we planned for this, and it's not like we wanted to hurt each other. We're just trying to figure things out." The words hung in the air, and Kathy knew they were just the tip of the iceberg. But it was a start, a fragile, honest start. Dorrit leaned in, her expression softening as she tried to offer some support. Kyle, I think a lot of us can relate. Relationships change, sometimes in ways we can't control. But you're stronger than you give yourself credit for. Kathy could see the flicker of hope in Kyle's eyes, but it was fleeting. The next words came quickly, and they were the ones Kathy had been dreading. I don't think we're going to get back together, Kyle said, her voice steady despite the underlying hurt. We've been avoiding the hard talks for a long time, and I think it's time to face reality. I need time to figure things out for myself. The room held its breath, the air thick with emotion. Kathy's heart ached for her sister, but she also understood the decision. Sometimes the hardest thing was realizing that love wasn't enough to keep two people together. But as the conversation turned to the possibility of reconciliation, Kathy couldn't help but feel a sense of conflict. Dorrit, ever the optimist, had mentioned the possibility of Kyle and Mauricio getting back together. She hadn't ruled it out, and her words held a certain hope.